What's up, everybody? And I want to welcome you back to another episode of an Italian Mafia saga. If you're catching this one, this is a restream of Chapter 18 because of sound problems. Everything is cool. I had the volume thing turned, I turned it all the way up. So, this is Chapter 18. So, do not get confused or lost. Thank you for all the support, the love, the friendship. Everybody, Harry's one love. I love each and every one of y'all. This thing is getting real. Let me know what you think in the comment box. If you care, if you don't care, it don't matter to me because this thing is hard and I put a lot of work into it, and I'm glad to share it with y'all before it comes out next year. So without any further ado, let me give a shout out to my homeboy Joe Kelly, my homeboy Gus, my homegirl soccer mom Sarah, everybody at Harry's, one love. Let's do this. Chapter 18. Monday night, February 4th, 2023, 8:41 p.m. KTNV Channel 13 Action News anchor Nicole Brisby was on the scene of a proto gym location that had been roped off by the Las Vegas Metro PD and secured as the CSU techs worked the crime scene. There was a body being carried out in a black bag as Nicole and Marshall watched from the van. Las Vegas Metro police cruisers were on the scene of a body being found in a shower room at Proto Gym. The body of a male was found with ligature marks from strangulation deeply visible around the neck, but there was no weapon. The two KTNV 13 Action News employees had been listening to everything over the police scanner. They knew the police were in there reviewing any and all camera footage because the conversation came across the scanner as it did in police code. Apparently, the police zeroed in on the bald guy going into the men's shower room, only to be followed by the victim 28 minutes later. Then the bald guy came out with a gym bag and a wire garrote, but the killer had a face. Donovan Lovato. The identification came across the scanner. Two males, one dead. And the other alive. The one dead is identified as Pedro Scarparelli, age 29. The information was typed in the Google search bar as quick as it came across the scanner. And the suspect, Donovan Lovato. We've got two men at the proto gym, Marshall, the cameraman said, pressing the enter key. The first, the dead one, Pedro Scarparelli, age 29, born in Naples, Italy, and moved stateside in 2003. Guy's got a nasty crime record going back to when Scarparelli was 16. Strong arm robbery, extortion, and car theft. Says here Scarparelli's a known associate for Mafia boss Max Denisi. Nicole, what the fuck's going on? I don't know. But there's an airtight motherfucker story here, and it's ours. What about the other name? Nicole replied, looking at the screen. Donovan John Pierre Lovato, age 16, born in Henderson, Nevada, too. Son of a bitch, get this, Marshall said, then turned to Nicole and looked her in the face as he pointed to the screen. Look who the fuck this kid's parents are. Nicole looked closer to the screen and saw the names Antonio Lovato and Karen Leanne Ray Lovato. She remembered those names because she began her job at KTNV Channel 13 Action News a week earlier in 2012 before the murder of the Lovato family. What? Nicole whispered to herself, then looked at her cameraman, having seen what he saw. Why'd the FBI testify on public record across every news station in America that Donovan Lovato was dead if they knew he wasn't? They're hiding something. Now I want to know what the fuck it is. First Calabrese's blown apart in his hotel room at the Planet Hollywood Hotel, now Scarparelli. Both were connected to Mafia boss Max Denisi, and now both are dead. You're missing one thing, Nikki, Marshall said. What's that? Nicole asked, thinking she was on point. Donovan Lovato killed them both and got away with it. Las Vegas homicide detective Michael Cantrelli got the case for the Proto Gym murder, and the victim was identified as 29-year-old Pedro Scarparelli with a record full of theft, violence, and organized crime. Says here Scarparelli was involved with the Denisi crime family, Cantrelli said to himself, looking over the case file. But why is a guy like you in the gym messing with the bald guy who I still have an ident? There was a knock on Michael Cantrelli's office door, and it opened. A woman came in and handed him some papers and a file. The results on the suspect you asked for, the woman said and left. Michael Cantrelli looked over the papers, scanning, reading, and looking at the photos of the bald guy provided in his file. He looked at the photo from the camera footage at the gym and compared it to the photos from the file. Nice to meet you, Donovan Lovato, Cantrelli said, setting the photos down. Scarparelli is a Mafia associate for Denisi. What's he want with you? Detective Cantrelli picked up the phone and made the call. Terrell? It's Cantrelli over here in homicide. I got a name for our suspect. It's Donovan Lovato. Yeah, I think so. Let's go pay him a visit. Las Vegas Metro homicide detectives Michael Cantrelli and Delvin Terrell were on their way to Anastasia Rocheleo's home to speak to Donovan Lovato. The two detectives were aware of who Lovato's parents were and who he is. They talked about it all the way to the Henderson residence. Anastasia Rocheleo was at home making dinner with Britt in the kitchen when Britt saw a nice 2023 Ford F-350 Super Duty slow to a stop outside. Anastasia knows Donovan is holding down a job and living on his own, though she has never been invited to see his new place. She respects him, and Donovan knows he always has a home here. Two men wearing police shields on their belts in nice casual golf club wear came to the front door. Miss Rocheleo took her oven mitts off in concern and went to the door. Both detectives acknowledged the opening door as a dark-haired Italian woman came into view. Can I help you both? Anastasia asked, curious. I'm Detective Michael Cantrelli, and this is my partner Delvin Terrell with the Las Vegas homicide. Is Donovan Lovato home? He's not here right now. What's this in regards to? We just want to ask him some questions about a body found in the shower room at a local gym, Detective Cantrelli said. As in a dead body? Was it a murder? Anastasia asked. We're not sure, but we do know that Donovan is the last one our victim was seen alive with, and we need to bring him in for questioning. Yes, they're here right now asking Mom about you, Britt said, having retreated to her room to call Donovan. Look, I'll be in touch. Just be careful. Britt returned to the kitchen and winced from the front door being slammed shut. The police were here asking for Donovan regarding a possible murder. No, Miss Rochelle's in a great mood now. That was the police, and they were asking for Donnie. Miss Rochelle began. What? What for? Britt asked, acting shocked. I don't know, Brittany. Donovan just got off the phone with Britt. He was driving home when he came to a decision in his mind. He's going to hire Marcoso Vendigano and Robert Crestolini. Vendigano and Crestolini, attorneys at law. How can we help you? The woman said. This is Donovan Lovato. Is either of them available? 1 second, Mr. Lovato. Donovan didn't realize or even physically see the unwanted attention he was allegedly attracting, but he felt that he needed some real legal representation. Mr. Lovato, this is Marcoso Vendigano. What can we do to help you? I need a couple good attorneys. You in some kind of trouble? Vendigano asked. No, sir. But you're hired. Both of you, Donovan said. FBI agents Martino DeMores and Donald Searing, who were originally taken off the case by FBI authority resulting from two Las Vegas Metro PD cops that had gone missing 2 days after the death of Bricks Lovato, were now repossessing the entire Lovato investigation, going all the way back to 2012 when they first arrived on the scene of Antonio Lovato's murder. DeMores and Searing were removed from the case back in September of 2012 and suspended with pay for failing to report the arrival of the two Las Vegas cops, testifying that they were the first to arrive and the Las Vegas Metro PD never arrived on the scene at all. The FBI followed Donovan Lovato all through Vegas and watched him like it was the Truman Show. On Friday, February 10th, 2023, the FBI followed Lovato's Ferrari to a restaurant called Joe's Seafood Prime Steak and Stone Crab. Agent Searing, dressed in his casual golf attire, came inside and scanned the restaurant. Searing was then escorted by a hostess to an empty table, 2 tables away from Donovan and some woman who was, 4 hours later, identified as 34-year-old Melissa Evans. Melissa Evans is a Las Vegas Circuit Court judge of 15 years. Searing has had a special earpiece in his left ear so he could hear every word. Donovan told Melissa that he is the CEO of Lovato Real Estate and that he can take care of her abusive husband for a price of $275,000, which included the dismemberment and disposal of the body. Melissa said that the latter two options weren't necessary. They have people to clean up the mess some midnight prowler made in the wrong home. Cold-hearted woman that sends people to prison every day. Searing watched this woman open up to Lovato about her life like he was the Pope himself. Then she slid Lovato a small black Under Armour duffel bag across the table. 2 nights later, February 12, 2023, the FBI followed Donovan driving a windowless black GMC van he bought out to a piece of property on Cantonia Street in Henderson, Nevada, number 2662. There was the Porsche that Ronaldo Evans, Melissa Evans' husband, drives, and another vehicle, a 2021 Mercedes-Benz C-Class Cabriolet. It's not Melissa's car. They watched Donovan go inside the front door. It was unlocked. Donovan looked around the 2-story home. A 72-inch smart TV had MSNBC on, but nobody was in here. Melissa said that her husband would be home alone because she goes to yoga at the gym anyway. Donovan found the long kitchen, found the stairs, then checked, spun, and closed the chamber of his dad's chrome Colt 45. He headed upstairs. A shower was on. Donovan crept toward the cracked open door. This was a very luxurious home for a woman who sits on a bench and listens to and directs people's lives. There were men and women's clothes on the floor around the sleep number bed. The shower was on, and there was moaning coming from the bathroom. Donovan figured it out. He wasn't paid $275,000 in cash to murder an abusive husband, but an unfaithful one. Donovan crept through the seeping steam and across the threshold of an enormous blue marble bathroom with the lights out. Through the fog-covered glass, Donovan saw 2 bodies, and it appeared from the breasts pressed against the glass in the moaning that they were fucking really good. Without procrastination, Donovan approached the fogged-up glass door. The FBI agents were watching, waiting to see what was going on with the Evans residence. Clearly, Melissa isn't home, so what's Donovan up to? Then both agents were awakened with alarm from the sound of a loud gunshot. Agent DeMores looked toward the house a breath after the first gunshot rang out. Another shot rang out and an upstairs window flashed with light after the second shot. Both agents saw it. A third shot rang out. Then a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth. Lovato just did Melissa Evans' husband and whoever he was with. She paid Lovato to kill them both. On Monday, February 13th, 2023, the FBI tailed Donovan to the Las Vegas Country Club. He went inside and sat down with his Manhattan accountant, Harold Reynolds. Nothing but financial conversation over lunch. March 2023, the third month of March 2023. Appreciate it. Thank you. The third month. The FBI kept a watchful eye on Donovan Lovato as their case against him grew. Martino DeMores and Donald Searing knew what Lovato was doing through Vegas and Henderson, Nevada to get the message out. And that food smells good. I'm going to tell him thank you as soon as I get done with this chapter. Donovan had been setting up rackets for himself in a number of ways to bring money in. And the money was already coming in. The FBI watched Lovato run a successful, low-key hustle, but they had him dead to rights. Every person he met, they had photos and conversations depending on whether they got the entire rendezvous recorded or not. The SUV driven by Demores followed the black Ferrari F8 Tributo all over Vegas and Henderson as Lovato collected his money. But the FBI wasn't alone in their education on what Donovan was up to. Denise had about 500 soldiers and associates under his control in Vegas alone. Heather was at home watching something on Netflix when Donovan walked in the front door with the file that Christina gave him last month. But the more important matter was Donovan telling his fiancée that he committed a self-defense murder in the shower room at Proto Gym. This was crazy. He didn't know where to start. It's a month later. She's going to be pissed. Donovan sat down on the couch and just held the file out to his fiancée. What's this? Heather asked, then opened it. Thank you, by the way. There were photos and reports about Donovan and all kinds of vital information. There's photos of us in here, babe. Look, Heather said, now more alert than ever. Donovan was looking at photos of the morning Calabrese was murdered. There was Donovan going into the FedEx on Paradise, and then multiple photos of Heather's Mustang on the way to the Planet Hollywood resort. Photos of Donovan going in and coming out. Photos of him and Christina when they went into Excess nightclub. Everything that Donovan had done since he had been adopted was photocopied. The nights they went to the casinos with Zoe and Britt, trips with Josiah Taylor to take care of financial benefits. Donovan and Heather could see they were being investigated. I was attacked in the shower room at the gym last month, Donovan said, and Heather looked at him. What? Heather asked, angered and afraid. By who? Don't know, but the guy tried to choke me out with the wire garrote and you killed him. Damn it, Donovan, Heather said, then got up. You do realize that you might end up in a courtroom over this? Heather was pissed. Donovan got up and stormed to the kitchen where Heather was. She has no idea what's going on. Neither of them do. Some guy tried to kill me, Dollface, and we're a family, Heather yelled and stormed over to the file and picked it up. The FBI's all over us, and you're now, a month later, telling me that you murdered someone again? Heather lit the blunt she just rolled and took some good drabs to calm down, then handed it to Donovan. Let's just calm down, babe. I'm the one blowing up on you, Heather said, and Donovan hit the cigar. You want to go first, or should I? Donovan asked and hit the blunt again. You think Denise sent whoever that guy was? Don't know. But last month I was invited to Denise's home, Donovan said, and Heather sat down on the couch. Monday, February 4th. Invited or subpoenaed? And why didn't you tell me about this? Heather asked, angry, taking the blunt. Call it what you want, but Denise knows about us and the money we're out spending. He asked me if I'm pushing drugs, but he was right there when Corbenzo gave me that kilo to take to New York City. And Denise was right there when Corbenzo gave me that pound of weed that we're sitting here smoking. First, you change your attitude when you talk to me. I will so slap the shit out of you and have no remorse about it, Heather said, slowly approaching her fiancé. You have the audacity to keep something from me and you want to get an attitude with me? What's Denise hiding? I don't know. 15 other guys were at the house, and Joey Cipriano, Denise's personal consigliere, accused me of stealing rackets from Giorgiano Valtorres and Enrico Santori. Donovan replied, taking the bunt from Heather. Did you? Heather asked, curious. Donovan walked to the fridge and came back with a can of cold Dr. Pepper. Look, Dollface, Donovan said, cracking the can. I'm out there on the grind making shit happen just like my dad. Take care of yous. But if it's going to get you killed, then we can find another way, Donovan, Heather said in a raised tone, then took the blunt. Well, I got into a fight with 4 of his men at once. They tried to jump me. Denise stood up there and watched. Heather hurriedly hugged Donovan for fear of losing him. I'm fine, babe, Donovan said. Heather embraced him as if it was going to be the last time they would ever embrace. Babe, will you teach me how to shoot a gun? Heather asked, knowing she needed to learn. Yeah, we'll go sometime, Donovan replied. Henderson High School, March 6th, 2023, 1 month after the murder of Pedro Scarparelli. Las Vegas homicide detective Michael Cantrelli and a convoy of 3 Las Vegas Metro police cruisers and an additional 4 Henderson PD cruisers by request for assistance to Henderson High School. After a month of investigation, there was enough video camera footage from the Proto Gym and the timing was conclusive to have a judge sign an arrest warrant for Donovan Lovato for murder. There were students all over the campus in the parking lots and getting off the yellow buses lined up in the bus loading zone as the cavalry arrived with sirens blaring, slowing to a stop outside the main entrance to the school. Students stopped as they saw all those police officers going inside the front entrance. The entourage walked into the front office, and several school faculty members stopped at the sight of all those police officers, and nobody called 911. Excuse me, I'm Detective Michael Cantrelli, Las Vegas Homicide. Cantrelli flashed his badge, and I've got an arrest warrant for one of your students, Donovan Lovato. Donovan was at his locker with his fiancée and Ashley. Zoe and his girlfriend were there, socializing and laughing the morning away before homeroom. Then Britt looked and saw a lot of police heading their way coming down the hall. What's going on with all those cops coming? Ashley asked, and they all turned around. There were 7 law enforcement officers and a detective coming and looking straight at them. The students were watching these cops come through like they knew who they were here for. Then the entourage stopped in front of the 5 of them. Donovan Lovato, detective asked. Then 4 officers shoved Donovan against the lockers. I'm Detective Michael Cantrelli with Las Vegas Homicide. What the fuck? Donovan shouted in a raised tone as the cuffs were click closed. I've got a warrant for your arrest. For the murder of Pedro Scarparelli. You have the right to remain silent. Donovan, what the fuck's going on? Britt asked as he was read his rights. Heather, call my attorneys, Donovan said as he was pulled down the hall in cuffs while all these students watched. Las Vegas Metro Police Precinct. Donovan Jean-Pierre Lovato was just arrested and booked on his first murder charge. Pedro Scarparelli is the name of the guy who tried to kill Donovan. Donovan was an avid viewer of the first 48, so he knew this. This case was a definite conviction. He looked around this little office for what seemed like ages, and then 2 detectives came into the little room and took a seat across the table from Donovan. Donovan, I'm Detective Michael Cantrelli. This is my partner, Detective Delvin Terrell, and we'd like to talk to you about some things. The body of 29-year-old Pedro Scarparelli, and the bodies of 2 feds that were murdered last month. Special agents David Tartani and Raven Salters were shot once in the head last month. Know anything about that, Lovato? Detective Cantrelli said, then got up from his chair. We know who you are, and we know who your dad was, and I think you ordered those feds to be killed. Yous both are wasting your time, Donovan said with a devilish grin, then stood up and approached the camera. My name's Donovan Lovato. I don't give a fuck what you think you's got on me. I'm not talking. I want my attorneys, Marcoso Vendigano and Robert Crestolino, Manhattan super attorneys you don't want nothing to do with. As soon as I get a chance, I'm posting my own bail. In the state of Nevada, murders committed during a home invasion are murders of the first degree, and the bail amount is usually set by the judge. Donovan sat back down and watched both detectives get up and leave the room. Donovan was changed into the orange Clark County Jail outfit and intake on level 1, fingerprinted, photographed, booked, and charged with first-degree murder at 16 years old and housed with the teenagers. There were 20 other teens playing cards, working out, and cooling it with their homeboys when the main pod door opened and a CO escorted a new teen felon in. Donovan looked around at some of the guys in here. A few of them were big for teenagers. What you looking at, Cracker? A black inmate called out to the new guy. He looked like a big bitch, a small black inmate with golds in his grill said. Lovato was in jail as a felon, and he was approached by 6 black inmates as he went up the stairs to his room, number 25. All 6 inmates followed this new bald inmate up to his room. They didn't care that he was big. Donovan walked into cell 25 and it was jumped from behind. 6 black inmates were punching him in the face, in the head, in the ribs. Donovan grabbed the largest one in a spear and rammed him up against the rails, then shot upward, smashing the inmate's lower mandible with the top of his head. A big fist came down and hit Donovan in the back of the head, and he saw stars. Stunned, as he was picked up and slammed on the steel-reinforced bed by another inmate. Donovan flipped the inmate over, punched him in the back of the head repeatedly while getting punched in the face, then forcefully applied a perfect rear naked chokehold. The COs rushed in and broke up the fight, pulling Donovan off a third inmate. 2 inmates would need to be wheeled to medical. The assisting COs grabbed the other inmates and took them all to medical, then to ADSEG. The next morning, Donovan awoke to a breakfast of sausage biscuits, gravy, eggs, and 2 slices of toast, but with a small pint of milk. He slept in a cell by himself last night in ADSEG, but sleep was to no avail seeing that he's in here for murder. Donovan was shackled, fettered, and led off to court for arraignment. He was read his charge, first-degree murder, remanded to the custody of the Clark County Jail without bail, and exited from the courtroom. You can't imagine being in confinement on murder 1 until you're really there. Donovan Lovato is 16 years old and facing murder. Thursday, March 9th, 2023, Donovan was wakened by the sound of a rapping on the door. He opened his eyes to see a CO in the window. Lovato? The guard asked. Attorney visit. Let's go. Donovan was looking scruffy and he was hungry from being back there in ADSEG. This being in jail was beginning to break him. The guard led Donovan to a room and there were both Marcoso Vindigano and Robert Crestalino sitting on the steel stools. The door closed behind Donovan as he sat down. The 2 attorneys weren't interested in the fact that he'd been in a fight because there was evidence on his face. But they were dressed in their finest Brioni suits, decked out like bosses that earned every penny. Donovan, you're going to court in the morning and Judge Rain is going to drop the charges against you. Don't worry, just keep your mouth shut and let us work. Any questions? Marcoso said. Yeah, it was self-defense. That guy Pedro tried to choke me out with that garrote he had, Donovan said. There was no mention of a murder weapon, and the ligature marks on the Scarparelli's neck leads the state to believe you committed the murder and took the weapon with you, Crestalino added. Donovan moved closer to the attorney to make sure they heard him. I did take it with me. My fingerprints were all over that piece of wire, Donovan said, and the court nor the judge needs to know that. All they have is footage proving that you were present on the night of the murder. They don't have a shred of evidence or DNA linking you to the act itself, Bendigano said, and the state knows that. They don't know we know, but they know that. Tomorrow, when you go to court, we'll get your charges thrown out, Crestalino replied, then both lawyers stood up to leave. Friday, March 10th, 2023. KTNV Channel 13 Action News anchor Nicole Brisby was outside the Henderson Justice Court with about 7 or 8 other news stations from around the area. They were here reporting about the arrested murderer suspect, Donovan Lovato. Inside this courthouse is accused murder suspect of 29-year-old Naples, Italy-born Pedro Scarparelli, Donovan Jean-Pierre Lovato. I have gathered from my very own CIs who have in fact confirmed that Pedro Scarparelli was in fact a known associate and recruiter for the Prime Minister of the Italian Mafia, Max Denisi. Now, Donovan Lovato, that's a much bigger picture, Nicole reported. Then the camera view came closer to her face. 10 years ago, the New York City-bred Denisi crime family underboss Antonio Brix Lovato and his wife were tragically killed in what again my very own CIs have confirmed was a mafia hit on Brix Lovato. The FBI then publicly testified to the entire United States that Donovan Lovato, other news anchors and crews began to look in Nicole's direction as her voice was clearly above the others and fueled by fires of anger. The murder suspect inside that building right there, Nicole continued that pointed to the courthouse, was dead. What's really going on, Las Vegas? Don't we have a right to know what the hell's going on? Donovan Lovato is also speculated to have had involvement in the explosion at the Planet Hollywood Hotel just several short weeks ago, which resulted in the death of former Denisi organized crime family capo Dino Calabresi, who has been presumed dead for 22 years after he allegedly attempted to murder Antonio Lovato for unspecified reasons and failed to do so, going AWOL on Mafia boss Max Denisi. Las Vegas, Henderson, Nevada. This is what's going on in our cities. If they won't tell you, then I will. Live from outside Las Vegas Courthouse. Live from outside Henderson Justice Court, excuse me. I'm Nicole Brisby with KTNV Channel 13 Action News. Back to you, Robert. The van doors closed. A moment of darkness covered the 12 inmates in the back of until the intake gate opened, allowing the officer to transport these 1015s to the courthouse. Donovan was chained up in the back on his way to court for first-degree murder. The next period of the trip seemed to drag along until every inmate was divided up and placed in holding cells to wait until their name was called to go in court. Finally, after 6 inmates have gone and come out of the courtroom, Donovan Lovato's name was called. He smoothly hobbled along and into the courtroom. Marcosa Vendigato and Robert Crestolino were standing in the front of a podium with a mic. And then there was the state attorney. Vendigato waved their client over to them for a brief talk. Good morning, Mr. Lovato. This will only take a moment, but you'll be out today. Yes, sir, Donovan replied and took his place by their side. The gavel banged. Court was now in session. The Honorable Judge Marcy Reyna was presiding. Mr. Vendigato and Mr. Crestolino, Judge Reyna began, taking off her glasses. What brings attorneys of your level of brilliance to my courtroom? We just do what we do best. Defend the innocent, Crestolino replied. Then Donovan's case number was read and he was sworn in. What's the charge? Judge Rain asked. First-degree murder, Your Honor, the state attorney replied. How does the defendant plead? Judge Rain asked. We'd like to enter a plea of not guilty on the basis of insufficient evidence as stated in the motion before you, Your Honor. We ask that this case be dismissed due to the misidentification of our client. There's nothing tying Mr. Lovato to the murder of Pedro Scarparelli, no DNA, no murder weapon, and no fingerprints. The state thinks that because there was no murder weapon at the scene of the crime that my client took it with him after he was murdered, or after he murdered Pedro Scarparelli. The accusation is absurd and we enter a motion to dismiss, Vendigato stated boldly. Your Honor, the defendant was on camera entering the locker room 28 minutes before the victim, Pedro Scarparelli, entered and was murdered by the defendant, Donovan Lovato. The state requests that the defendant be remanded without bail until trial. Judge Marcy Reyna took off her glasses and looked up from the case file in this motion. You know, I've looked over this case file in my chambers, and even as we've been speaking, there's no evidence linking Mr. Lovato to the crime. Motion dismissed granted. Mr. Lovato, charged first-degree murder against you is dropped. You're free to go. Judge Reyna said, and Donovan smiled at his attorneys as he headed back to the court. Donovan exited the Clark County Jail 6 hours later to an innumerable amount of news cameras and questions. Donovan Lovato, were your parents really murdered as a result of your dad's connection to the New York Mafia? A female reporter asked, with the mic in her hand. Mr. Lovato, do you think the results of this dismissal of this first-degree murder charge had a coercion on your part? And do you think the mob had anything to do with the results of this case? Another male reporter asked. Donovan, several reporters called out as Marcosa Vendigato approached the reporters, moving in front of his client with his partner, Robert Crestolino, with Heather watching by her boyfriend's side. My client's alleged relations to the Mafia are absurd and outrageous and had absolutely no bearing on the results of the dismissal of first-degree murder. Simply put, my client's 1,000% innocent of the murder of Pedro Scarparelli. Vendigato publicly declared. Every soul that had their TV on today, even Max Denisi, and every Mafia family as far as New York City and LA were watching this news report, seeing Donovan on live ass camera with Heather Calson standing behind New York high power attorneys Vendigano and Crestolino, who represented the deceased Mafia underboss Bricks Lovato, and now his son. Pause. Let me get back to my spot. This is what happens. Good food throws you off. So here we were. But did the results of this case have any possible weight on the outcome, seeing you both represented Antonio Lovato when he was alive? A reporter asked as Denise watched with his man at home in his Vegas condo. Denise knew that Pedro Scarparelli was going to kill Donovan because Denise sent him. Donovan refused to pay the boss's money and wanted to do his own thing. I want that reporter, Nicole Brisby, silenced. But give her time to forget that she even said any of this today. Capiche? Denise said, and made a few calls to some fellows in New York, Chicago, and Miami. The Mafia was watching this news report as Lovato's attorneys made their way through the press, with Donovan, a free young man, and his girlfriend by his side. Heather's man was in jail on first-degree murder, and he beat the case, and he was coming home with her. Thank you for watching this restreaming on Chapter 18. The sound is fine. Everything is fine. I hope you enjoy it and follow along for Chapter 19. I love y'all, and I'm out. What's up, bro?